dressed a little weird. Thanks! So I did get a lot of looks when I walked to class today because obviously I'm not dressed like a girl. So how many of you have ever been told to act like a lady? And how many have been told to be a man and suck it up and rub some dirt on it? Alright, come on, okay. Alright, well, if any of you individuals have ever been told that phrase at one point in your life, it was probably through the influence of media. You may think to yourselves that it is impossible to be so easily steered in one direction and one certain way of thinking, but I can guarantee you that in all of your minds, you can come up with at least one expectation you could think of for a girl and a guy. So the power media has over the public opinion on gender expectations is far too great through television shows, video games, news articles, photography. And media somehow generates extremely biased opinions of how men and women should be acting in society. So, in general, television is probably one of the most influential things in our lives because as children, we grow up watching cartoons, and like That's So Raven, Disney Channel, like everything. So, one of my examples is actually Everybody Loves Raymond. How many have seen that show? Okay, so everyone knows the mother role, Marie. So she's actually she's played out to be like a very nurturing, caring for her family, like a stay-at-home mom, and when she doesn't have everything together and organized, she becomes a very distraught character. As for the father role, Frank, he's fearless, he's always quick to make a decision, he's lazy, he always like sits on his butt and he doesn't really do anything, and then like the wife's forced to listen to her husband. And he's always like the man of action. Another example is superhero television shows and movies. So superheroes are usually commanding and authoritative, and they have no fear. They are always the ones saving the world, and they never show weaknesses. And if they do, they're always quickly overcome, and they always end up saving the day at the end of the movie for a happy ending. So characters like Superman, Batman, Spider-Man are perfect examples because they're superpower men fighting for justice, and they're also fighting for the safety of a helpless community. And the media portrays their masculinity through saving the world. So little boys watching it end up thinking that we have to grow up to be really masculine in order to be just like our role models. Another example is video games. So video games, they're always male leads. So like Sonic the Hedgehog, Banjo from Banjo-Kazooie. I don't know if anyone knows that. So the objective of these games are usually to save damsel in distress. So like Mario and like Zelda, they're always trying to save like a helpless princess. So these are general, so I want to get to more into detail about males right now. So men, how they're portrayed through media. So there's an article about a stay-at-home father, so he was actually really scared to put his occupation on Facebook because he didn't really have a job. He was the stay-at-home dad and the wife was the one going out and getting bacon. And he was just really scared on how all his friends would view him and how they misjudge him, basically. So male occupations such as nurses and stay-at-home dads and teachers are actually very low. Recent study by the Pew Research Center said 51% of children should be raised by mothers, and then only 8% of Americans said that fathers can raise their kids. So because of the rise of feminism, men in our society today are getting hidden into the back, and the rights of women are being so brought up that the rights of men are slowly going down. Well, not going down. So then the University of Illinois, a sociology professor, concluded through many research and interviews and surveys that when girls call themselves tomboys, it is through a sense of pride, but boys make fun of other boys if they step out of their rigid masculinity box. So another interview conducted was by Matt Duran. He states that when a girl is running around on a baseball field, everyone's like, wow, what a strong girl. But then he had tears in his eyes because he was like, but when my 6-year-old son was running around in a dress, people came up to me and asked me, what's wrong with your son? And they thought there was something severely wrong with him. And so now I'm going to talk about females. So females are more expressive of who they are now, and that's good. And okay, so women are starting to come out of their feminine box that they've been shut in for so long, and although women are slowly starting in our society today, they still do face hardships. So there are some artworks in these galleries. So so there's these 3 posters called the Gorilla Girls, and they're by a group of feminist women. And so their first poster was a picture of a nude girl with a gorilla mask holding a feather duster. And then the second poster a quote said, "Do women have to be naked to get into the Metropolitan Museum?" And then in the third poster, it replies to that question. It says, "Less than 3% of artists in modern art sections are women, but 83% of nudes are female." So, portrayal of women in television and movie series affect the way women see themselves. Women who stand up for themselves in movies are actually called like bitter, like heartless, and they're looked at as like kind of scary. And so both men and women are affected through the use of media somehow after the way society expects both men and women to act through television, news reports, video games, and artwork. And it is inevitable and unavoidable because we grew up through television, and it's very hard, but the main point of this is to let you know that you shouldn't always follow the expectations you see through media, because it's important to set your expectations and limit your guidelines to yourselves.